everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're going to be a craftier person after watching this video. You want to time every ticket I do with a person shadowing me? Okay. TLDR, you shadow me? Better keep up. By the way, I love the stairs. As a tech of going on 30 years, I've seen some stupid management directives. This is one of my favourites. Back in 2007, I worked for a large bank that is based in Atlanta and I worked in Richmond in a 28-story office tower. My primary job was desktop support and fixing phones. At the time, I was very athletic. I moved fast all the time and hated to use the elevator. If I had to go less than 6 floors, I took the stairs. My boss didn't care, for as a team we were the most efficient team in the company as far as number of tickets worked each week per tech. We worked smart, not hard. So upper management in Atlanta decides one day to do a deep assessment on how all the techs in the bank did our job. My team gets a visit from Atlanta one day in the form of a heavyset guy who says he will be shadowing us to see how we did our job. He was a bit of a condescending jerk too in his attitude. He even had a stopwatch to time us. Now, we all knew right away what was happening. Management wanted to outsource us, so they needed to know what we did, how long it took, and what we used so they could put a cost on it before soliciting for bids. Let's just say my team was not thrilled about it. Now, I decided to be a smartass about this, and my team knew what I had planned for this event. I was told this overweight condescending jerk was to shadow us and time us. Okay, but he's gonna have to keep up. Time for malicious compliance. I only used the stairs. Our lab was on the 20th floor. A typical morning for me would be like this. I'd run a desktop monitor ticket to the 6th floor, then go back to 20 to get my phone bag to go to lower level 1 to the IPX to hook up a phone, then go to the 14th floor to test the phone, then up to 22 to fix a printer, then down to 7 to look at a laptop. Today, I'm only doing the stairs, so this guy was about to have a heart attack trying to keep up with me while I did my job. I took no pity on him and didn't even pay attention to him. As far as I was concerned, this jerk was assisting others in having my job eliminated. At some point, I'd lost him in the stairwell. Later, my boss says to me the guy was a bit mad at me for taking the stairs, but my boss told him, "That is how my tech works and he is one of my best. If you can't keep up, that's your problem." To this day, I have said she was the best boss I've ever had. Later, I found out what I did got back to upper management in Atlanta. They were pissed, yet they could not punish me for I was doing my job and I did it very well. The story also got round to other techs and they thought it was funny as hell what I did. In April 2008, we found out we were outsourced, just like we knew it was going to happen, and I no longer work there. Edit. I'm doing quite well these days being a code developer and SF admin, so I look at that experience as my cheese move, so I needed to find new cheese. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am now. Demoted, then they realised they effed up. Edited to remove acronyms. I will try to summarise this as much as possible through context first. I worked 9 years at a well-known company, worldwide provider of various products. Won't name this company, but it was a division of the company I worked for. I started at this company at the bottom as a tech, did my job well and excelled upwards. After 6 years, I was promoted into the national support group and then also excelled at this position. It was well paid and salary, which is a very nice bump in pay, and the hours were great. After a year in the new position, I was promoted to a co-operator position, which I shared with another, which we were very good friends with and got along very well. To this day, we still do lunches and chat quite frequently. Now, I was trained up on the in-house software that runs the dispatching of text, which was made by an in-house software developer, which the software used codes for areas and state. Very complex, but for him it worked. Though no documentation whatsoever, no manual, nothing. The guy that had the position before me was leaving the company for a better offer, so he took a month to train me on this software. And of course, I wrote down all the codes for all the areas just so I didn't get anything wrong, since there was no manual or instructions. He leaves the company. A year later, the developer of this software dies from cancer, so now no one but myself knows how to use this software, and taking vacations were far and in between due to the issue. I constantly ask for backup to be trained so they can do this job while I go on vacations. At this point, I could only take 2 days at a time for vacation, and my wedding was upcoming in 8 months, and we were taking a month-long honeymoon. No, I got denied every time I requested a replacement to be trained. When my co-operator and I took over the new department, it was in shambles. Our turnover for repairs was sitting around 8 days, which upset a lot of customers due to these machines being used constantly during work hours. We brainstormed and came up with solutions to fix this and reduced downtimes dramatically. The bad thing about this is that it put extreme pressure on logistics to get parts overnighted to techs in the field, which the logistics manager was okay with, which he in turn hired enough guys to take this burden on and was working out pretty well. This turned out to be great. We reduced our downtime from 8 days to on average 2 days. Customers commented constantly about how much better our service was and how they were definitely happy with how their repairs were going. Then it starts to go south from this point. My manager was looking to move up the ladder and needed to hire someone for his position. Of course, me and my co-operator apply for the position since we know how to run this division and think we could do the job great. We both get overlooked for the manager's friend, which he had no experience in this division whatsoever. He was actually one of the logistics purchasers. He has no idea whatsoever to run our department nor any technical experience whatsoever. He of course gets the position, and right off the bat, this stupid idiot wants to change how we do things and reduce the strain on our logistics grip. Co-operator and myself immediately protest and oppose his changes with prejudice and vigour, though this fell on deaf ears. When he tells us to implement the changes, I refuse, and so does my co-operator. For weeks we argue with manager's friend, which is now my manager, and he gets upset and continuously fights with us to make the changes. We again refuse. I emailed his manager and explained the situation and pointed out that it would increase repairs and our customers would be very unhappy. At this time, we grew the base of our customers 20-fold and our satisfaction ratings on all our reviews were in the upper 90s, though these emails and everything that co-operator and I were explaining went on deaf ears. At this point, manager's friend feels that I am the instigator of the disobedience, and that week I was called into a conference room with HR, manager's friend and his manager. They informed me that I was going to be demoted from operator to dispatcher due to my inability to be a team player and being confrontational to my manager, etc, etc. So I said fine with me. Meant less work and same pay, so I'm okay with this. Now, with this job, you had certain functions of the job that you could and could not do. You could only do what was assigned to you for that job description. Dispatchers could only dispatch calls to techs and not assign their own calls, which was my previous job. My co-operator at the time was in charge of escalations and onboarding techs and did not know the system I used to dispatch these calls. The next day I come in and sit at my desk, waiting for calls to be put on my board, knowing that there was no one now to dispatch calls to the dispatchers. After about 4 hours, I get approached by my manager's friend, asking why I was not dispatching calls to everyone. I politely said, "Remember, I got demoted? I can't dispatch, it's not part of my job description, and I don't want to be fired for doing something that I am not allowed to do." The dread on his face could be seen as it streaks up his back and hits him full force. At this point, he's realised that he's just effed up. Of course, his manager and HR did not know anything about the software that was developed in-house and had no instructions on how to use it. It was the backbone of this division's dispatching software. Without this, no calls could be dispatched out whatsoever. The news is now getting around that no calls are being dispatched, and manager's friend's manager now enters and asks what's going on. He soon realises as well what happened. They then call me back into the conference room and ask me to train a replacement. Of course I refuse. The day ends and I go home. Next morning I show up for work on the dot and they call me back in yet again, offering my position back and to please start dispatching calls as soon as possible. Of course I refuse the promotion, pointing out key points that they brought up during my demotion meeting on why they were demoting me, and because of those points I felt I had to overcome them in order to be able to accept the promotion, and it would be a great time to focus on my abilities that they outlined. They were flabbergasted and frustrated clearly. They get upset and tell me that I'm holding the company hostage and that they will have to take me to court. At this point, per my contract, I am now entitled to a lawyer and they have to pay. Few days go by, of course, no calls being dispatched. They are now relying on emails and phone calls to get calls dispatched and parts ordered, and it's pandemonium abound. It is adding so much more time to each call and ordering parts that the whole system is falling apart. I finally get contacted by a lawyer, telling me that he is to represent me and that he's being paid by the company I work for, but that he works for me, period. That he cannot talk to them without my knowledge, he cannot do anything against my own interests, and that he's being paid by them but works for me. He goes on to tell me that they can't force me to take a promotion and they can't fire me if I fulfill my obligations of the employment contract, which was pretty easy. Basically just show up on time, take breaks at the specified time, and leave at the specified time. So I do. This goes on for a month when they are finally getting to the breaking point. Repairs are exceeding 2 weeks and customers are cancelling their repair contracts due to the service issues. They decided to demote me again to logistics. Now, the manager of logistics is a good friend and he thinks this is retaliation for all the issues, so he just says to me to take a desk over in the corner and do my thing, whatever I wanted. He wasn't going to punish me for their stupidity. We go to court, they present their case, and my lawyer presents mine. After 2 days, the judge rules in favour of me and says that a company cannot force me into a job or doing a job that I do not wish to, and this would be considered enslavement. They press the judge to have me turn over the information to run the software that runs their division. The judge asked me if I had written it down. At this point I didn't have it. I threw it away, so I answered honestly to the judge. Though I did say, I do remember how to use it and all the codes to dispatch since I did it for years, it became like second nature. The judge asked me if I would be willing to write down the instructions. I politely said no. Judge said, okay, that's that then. Upon coming back to work the next day, I decided to start looking for another job. After about a month, I found a new position at another company, making about 10% more and with better options, and also agreed to give me the month off with salary for my honeymoon. So I wrote up a resignation letter and sent it to my manager, his manager, and the senior staff of the division, and also the CEO of the company, explaining everything that went on and why I was leaving the company, and wished them the best. That Friday, I packed up my personal stuff and left. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the CEO of the company, apologising for what happened, and that all this information just came to light, and that the individuals involved were terminated. Manager's friend and his manager, and the one above him, which was sweet to my ears, and offered my job back. I politely declined. A few weeks after manager's friend was fired, I was told by my good friend and cooperator that he died from a drug overdose, which is sad and completely not deserved no matter how much I hated him. The division I ran was merged into another division a year later, after it was not able to recover. 30% of the people that worked for that division were laid off or transferred to other divisions. My cooperator is still working for the same company, though he said after this whole ordeal it never recovered and never was the same and has gone downhill dramatically, and he will be retiring this year. It sounds so crazy to me that you would have an entire software developed that only one person knew how to operate and then demote that person. The manager that was hired in was on a complete power trip and basically caused all of this. It is sad how his story ended though. Okay, so that's all for r/MaliciousCompliance. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!